should also tell you that we are in process of accepting application for the third cohort of NUTM Scholars Program. And the deadline for the first round application is 20th June 2020, which is 2022, which is Monday. Without getting any delayed, let me introduce the purpose of the session. This session is organized for you folks to ask direct questions to our scholars. You can ask them questions about the admissions process, about life at NSP, about the interview process, about how to craft the essays, and whatever you feel like, which is relevant to your admissions and applications, as well as which will help you take a decision for future. The idea is to give you enough exposure and first-hand experience from our scholars itself, so that you can craft a compelling sort of application and maximize your chance of getting into the NSP application process. NSP, yes. So the flow of the session would be, we have scholars in front of you, as we are saying. We'll introduce them quickly, and then we'll have a couple of questions for them before taking in your questions. So you may type down your questions in the Q&A panel of your Zoom dashboard that you can see in the bottom of the screen, and we will take them as it comes. So without much delay, I would like to welcome our scholars to the session. So we have Jesutoye. Just if you can just raise your hand and maybe, yeah, say hi. So he has a BSc honors degree in anatomy, and he's also a co-founder of Go By Books. We have Purity, and Purity, she has BMLS degree in medical laboratory science, and she used to be a medical laboratory scientist at General Hospital Ova Lero. I have with me Aaliyah Tawasimi. She has a BSc degree in business studies, and she's a brand and communication lead at Wakes Collective. I have Dr. Babajide Macaulay with me. He holds a PhD degree in environmental geochemistry and geomicrobiology. He's a lecturer at Federal University of Technology, Okoro. So before we move on with the session, I would request our scholars to give a brief introduction about themselves, apart from what I have already told about them. So anyone can just go ahead. Okay, Aaliyah, I think alphabetically you come first, so why don't you go ahead?
All right, no problem. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Aaliyah Tawasimi, like Heman said. I am an indigene of Abuja. So like, yes, Tawasimi sounds like it's a Yoruba name, but it's not. I'm actually from Abuja, probably the first that you've ever met. That's okay. So my background is in the arts and the creative industry. Yes, I studied business. I did a bit of worked in the financial institution, more the Sovereign Wealth Fund in Abuja. I have also worked in the heavily in the creative industry, from events to art. I'm currently an artist myself. I kind of did this thing on my display. But yeah, I am what you would call a multifaceted like creator. So I have the high-level experience of looking at creativity and finding processes around it to actually make sense, and for someone to actually like make money from their creative like ventures and endeavors, and kind of structure it in a, would you say, a corporate or like a very functional environment. I'm happy to be here to give you guys my hot opinions and perspectives and experiences about the NUTM. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Aaliyah. I think Babajide, it's you next.
Okay, I see letter B, right? Okay. Yeah, so I'm Babajide. Just as Himans has said, I'm a lecturer and academic. I teach both undergrad, postgrad at FUTA, environmental sustainability. I know you would be like, what the hell is the lecturer doing here? I know. So on the sides, I also run an online educational consulting firm called Illumania that has helped over 160 Africans win scholarships abroad, to further their studies. Now, because I run startups and I have recently been interested about how to build businesses, that's my out of the classroom life. I knew that I needed to improve my business skills And so when I saw the curriculum of the NUTM, I was attracted to it. I knew it would take me an entire year. So I had to play the politics in my school to let them release me, and they had to let me go. And that's why I'm here now. And I'm enjoying it. So you'll hear from me the experiences thus far. So let me stop it there for now. Yeah.
Thanks, Babajide. In fact, you spoiled my next question. I mean, that was supposed to be my next question, right? Why did you decide to join NUTM Scholars Program? Anyway, we'll come back to that. But Purity, can you go next, please?
All right, thank you very much, Hemant. Hi, everyone. My name is Purity Okoro. If I'm going to go by how Aaliyah introduced herself, I'm from Imo State here in Nigeria. And I'm a medical laboratory scientist by profession. Yes, if you're wondering, why is she not in the freaking hospital, right? But this is me trying to also build on what I already started working on. I run a startup by name Zancraft, where we produce custom-made footwear and fashion accessories for Africans in Africa, right? And then I've also tried my hands around a bit of data analytics. I've worked with a startup, Binary Hills, as a business developer, where I got to learn and understand what it really meant to build a business. So my main essence of being here is to really understand from the educational perspective what it means to build a business, what it means to build a startup, and really know how to go on from there and to see other things that I could really be good at aside from just working in the hospital. So it's nice to meet you. Thanks.
Thanks, Purity, so much. Jesutoye, why don't you go ahead now?
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. It's a pleasure to meet you. Hi, saying hi from here. My name is Jesutoye Marvellous, like Emma said, and I'm from Odumosho town in Oyo State. My parents live in Ibadan. I lived in Ibadan, and I'm a graduate of Beaumont University. I studied anatomy, and in my final year, that was when I started Go Buy Books. And Go Buy Books is an online store that provides, learning materials and resources to students. And aside that, I also run a non-profit, Keep It Simple, where we teach tutorials to students at universities also. So I guess those are the basic details about me. Then why NUTM, I guess Matt is going to be the one to ask that. So yeah, pleasure to meet you. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm a very friendly person, I guess.
Thanks, Jesutoye. So I think, Dr. Babajide and Purity gave an insight why they thought NSP would be a right choice at this point in time. But Aaliyah, why don't you think, what made you join NSP, and how has your experience been so far?
So for me, when I first, little background, I am a pioneer in the sense that for every school I've gone to from high school, I've always been either the first set. In fact, I've been the first set. NUTM is the first time I'm in the second set. And every school I've been to post high school, and I think Babajide can relate, I've never had to pay for education. I've gotten scholarships. So that understanding and that, so I had gotten to a point in my life where I was in Abuja, I had done a lot of the endeavors that I wanted to do, but I felt like I needed more for my life. I needed a lot more. I needed to leave. So there was a prompting in my spirit to push me out and leave. I needed to experience the world, and seeing that I couldn't leave the country because COVID happened. Once NUTM came up, there was a course in the UK in Brunel University that also gave entrepreneurship, sustainability, and design. And when I compared the two, I noticed that what NUTM was offering was similar to what that course was designed to offer. So I'm like, if I can apply for this, come to Lagos, live in Lagos, and get the same experience that I would have gotten there, why not? So the first set I saw when they were applying, but I wasn't ready to apply them because I felt like I hadn't done enough, or I hadn't had enough experiences. I just wasn't ready. And then once the second set was ready, I kept pushing it and pushing it. It wasn't until I think the last round that I was ready to properly apply. And then when I applied, I just kind of forgot about the application. Funny story, I was telling the others as well. Once it was time for the interviews, right? I had my first interview, I think, with Debo and the team. then there was I think Kushka had one of the admin officers had sent an email like sending for another interview, but I had already done it. So I received two when it came to the confirmation email. I received two emails. One email that said I was rejected, and another that said I was accepted. And I looked at it and I was like, no, it's not me you're rejecting. Definitely the acceptance is for me. So when I now acknowledged the acceptance email. And then I kind of told like Kushka that, I had also gotten the other email, but I'm sure it's false because it can't be me. Like, you won't reject me. So, but yeah, so basically it was a prompting, it was a necessity for me to move out of the current state to which I was. It was for me to move out of the environment that I was to actually gain more experiences from people around the world. And yeah, so far so good. I have been doing that.
Thanks, Ali. I mean, that was quite a story of you, getting two emails, and definitely you were the one, who was the selected one, right? So just to say, coming to you, right? I mean, firstly, what made you join NUTM Scholars Program, obviously, and on top of that, what I would also like to hear from you is, you have now almost spent a year at NUTM, right? How has that fared, and how do you think, it will help you going ahead, especially when I hope now you have some idea of what you want to do after NUTM Scholars Program, right? So how has this journey helped you?
All right. For me, I don't have a very interesting story like Aaliyah, to be honest. But in my own interesting, I'll try. So I joined NUTM because I am passionate about Africa. I want innovation in Africa, and also I'm passionate about education, like most of my endeavors have been. And I knew there was a lot, like I started Go Buy Books in my final year, and within some months I've been running Go Buy Books. And then I saw the details to apply to NUTM in one of the professional development group chat I was in, Bowen Finance Society, shout out. So I saw the details there, and everything there was like, this is the dream Nigeria I've been looking for. And I also did my research. One of the directors of the board at NUTM said something that stuck with me, that made me finish my application. He said, if you like the way Nigeria is right now, don't apply. Like that really, it's different to me. The fact that I don't like Nigeria currently, I want Nigeria to be better, and I know Nigeria can be better, and NUTM offered that opportunity to make it better through whatever solution you want to create for Africa or Nigeria, we check either way. So that was what made me apply to NUTM. And getting into NUTM, it has been a very great journey. The fact that I came here for technology and and management, and I've gotten good network. Aaliyah is my network, Babajide is my network, Purity is part of my network, and so many other great people, brilliant people like outside the technology and management. And on the education aspect of NUTM also, I've learned how to work with teams better in terms of, maybe you're working with a technology team, you know how to, interact with them better because you already have an understanding of the concept. And in terms of management, I can now, efficiently not just work on my own. I can work with the team and give deliverables to the team and make sure everybody is effective as a team. So that, I would say, has been my takeaway from NUTM, and understanding that Nigeria can be better. How to work with technical teams, and how to also ensure teams deliver on their activities.
Thanks. I mean, really insightful, right? And also encouraging to some sense. My next question is to Purity, right? So there are several sort of sections and components within NSP, right? You talk about shadow leader, you talk about academics, you talk about TED Lab, and then many more, right? So I want to hear from you, how is academics like at NUTM? Talk about faculty, what has been your highlights, and maybe some lowlights, but let our audience hear, how is academic life at NSP.
All right, thank you, Herman. So it's really been quite an interesting one, starting from having to learn and interact with global faculties, the likes of Professor Dwight Jaggard, Kenwin Smith. These are professors at the University of Pennsylvania, right? And it was, and a lot of other faculties, Africans and non-Africans. It's been quite interesting. It's been quite expository, because we even started off with the foundations of leadership. That particular course had a way of digging deep into the things that you probably would not just say naturally. Like you would be talking about your initial vision, and then at the end of the course, you're talking about your final vision. Like you didn't even think about those things before coming. So talking about the modules that we've taken, they really had a way of, making me a better person. Team dynamics, particularly, I've learned how to manage people better. Yes, I'm a people person, but I think that I've been able to understand how to understand people, because it's really been a struggle, right? Like you're saying A, it seems like every other person is like on Z. You have to find a way to bring them back to A and say, okay, this is where we are. And you really have to be a lot patient. So that's one thing I've learned. And then one other module that, well, one of the key modules that brought me to NUTM that made me to really come here was the TED Lab. That's Technology, Entrepreneurship and Design Laboratory, where we pitch idea. You pitch whatever idea you have to your fellow scholars, to the faculty, and then you set up a team and you guys start working on that idea. You do a lot of brainstorming around business modules. You get to have guest sessions with people that already have startups that have built, that are failed, startups that they've built that are functioning, and the ones that are still running. So it's like an all-rounder, all the things we're learning, things around product management, negotiations, you're now beginning to apply them in that project, which is going to span throughout the program. So that was one thing that struck me when I was applying. And then while here, another thing that I've actually really gained a lot from is the Shadow Leader program. So it's more like a program where you pick a particular leader in a sector who you want to be mentored, right? Who you want to mentor you, sorry. And then when you pick that leader, you literally know why you're picking the person. It's like you saying, this person does some things that I want to learn. This is why I want this person. And then you're found there. Anytime finds a way to connect you to the person that you work with, and for the person for like 6 weeks. So now it's a mentor-mentee program, not just ordinary internship. You're trying to build a relationship that's going to continue after NUTM. And these people are people that you most likely will not even have access to if you wanted to reach out to them on your own. You may not have even known, like my own mentor, I didn't know about him, right? I got to know about him on getting to NUTM by interacting with fellow scholars and asking, okay, this is areas I want to, who do you think? So we had to do all that brainstorming, and then NUTM still had a way to find and attach us to these mentors. And that relationship, if you harness it well, moves on from there, like mine has, right? So I've really gained a lot from the market creating innovation workshop. There's a lot. And then interacting with scholars, because it's going to choke you up at some point. You'll be like, oh, it's like all these people are past me. What have I been doing in my life, right? But at the end of the day, you realize that the same way you're feeling, that's how the person sitting next to you is feeling. So let's all just be calming down. Like we're all in this together. And then you realize that you think you're the only one who's feeling overwhelmed, who's feeling like everybody has gone beyond you. And then you speak to the next person like, so I thought I was the only one. So you see that connectivity, that interaction, it has a way of actually building a bond. And I have like an increased network of 59 other scholars who are going to have startups that they are building tomorrow, that they are going to be big, and then I can always reach out. I'm like, oh, and yeah, I know this person. So that's like the highlight of the program for me, having to know people that I can reference and say, I know this person and they're in these places. And as well as the guests that we have also had to interact with during guest sessions, likes of Shola, and all of that. What was her name again? I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, one day, Ibuka Woshika, like you see the people like you get to interact with in your guest sessions, you literally on the road, you say, this is Ibuka. No, you're going to be sitting in the same hall with these people and you're like, yeah, you ask certain questions and then they clearly answer you. So these are like the highlights from NUTM for me. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Quite a lot of things to process, right? And then also sort of feel, I wouldn't say feel great about, but it's getting all these things in one platform. I think, when we sort of sit and think back, say, 5 years or 10 years from now, then, I feel, this would be some life-changing experiences. I think we'll acknowledge that, But yeah, going ahead, let me ask sort of Babajide come in, right? So for you, Babajide, how is life at NUTM, right? And I would sort of like you to put spot on two things, Firstly, a TED Lab, what is TED Lab? How was your experience? And, how it is conducted at NUTM, right? And second thing is, experiential learning part of it, right? Say shadow leader or the way classes are done. Because what we also try to do is we try to break a myth that, faculty are the sole sort of owner of knowledge, right? There's so much of co-learning and learning from cohort, learning from your friends, and also sort of learning through discussion and learning through your presentations, so on and so forth. So please go ahead, according to you, how is life at NUTM?
Okay, so life at NUTM. Honestly, when I first arrived, everyone were just looking at me. What the heck is this guy with a PhD doing here? And that went on throughout the first week. Like, why did you come here? Why did you come here? I kept answering the question every day. Well, life, it's very funny because a lot of people felt I should be up there. But when I got here, I was humbled. I have never been in a classroom of highly intelligent Black people like the class that I always engage in every day here. I've never been in one. And this is someone coming from academia. So I'm telling you that I know what I'm talking about. NUTM carefully selected 60 amazing people across Africa. I can assure you, because when you get here, you cannot raise your shoulders high above anyone else. Everyone is special in their own right. So when you come here, the first thing is that there's something to learn from the person next to you. And that was the very first thing I noticed. Case in point, my slides are usually rubbish, but when I got here, this is the place where you tell NSP scholars, in 5 minutes, make a presentation, and these guys have created excellent slides, and you'll be like, what is going on here? Excellent slides. I didn't really know how to use Canva for presentation, I only use it for posters, but when I got here, I perfected it. So thanks, guys. So life here is amazing. There is so much to learn. For TED Lab, so TED Lab is just a platform where you get your hands dirty trying to learn how to build a startup. It's very easy to say, I have an idea, I have a concept. But when it's time to develop that into an MVP, something that you're going to take out there to sell, then you discover that there's a huge gap between concept and the launch of whatever you're trying to build. And that's exactly what TED Lab will help you achieve. It will help you understand each step, how complex it is, working with people, because you have to also pick your teammates. You need to have the right synergy in your team, or else there will be lots of issues. So yeah, the TED Lab has been great, and I've learned so much because there was an idea to solve a problem, but now the idea is fast becoming something that is available. We've even registered it, like this is going to be a business now, thanks to TED Lab. And lastly, you talked about experiential learning. Well, the thing here is, I love how some of the faculties, how they actually go about the delivery of the knowledge. I come from academia, and unfortunately, the way we do stuff where I come from is conventional, where it's mainly we stand in front of you like we know it all, and we talk at you and say, yes, this is how it is, this is it, and this is that. But I think the method here is co-learning, where they want you to even experience it. So it's more like a boot camp. We have a lot of sessions that have a boot camp as well as simulations, and you live and clearly, okay, and you just understand clearly the concepts better. So it's been great. I can assure you that I'm going to take back many of this to my school and definitely apply when I get back there. So thank you.
Thanks, Babajide. So we talked about academics, we talked about TED Lab, and PUT also talked about shadow leaders. But what I also want you guys to share is about the social life at NUTM, right? How is the social life at NUTM? So Aaliyah, why don't you take a crack at it?
Social life. Let me just tell you now that there's no such thing as sleep. Last night I slept by 4 a.m. because we were preparing for our pitch that was for TED Lab today. And we as ZanQ, we're always like the first people to present. So we always have to make sure that our presentations are ready. But social life, I would tell you that it's a community. So once you come into NUTM, right, and once you take the first course, in fact, from critical thinking and from foundations of leadership, you are encouraged to be vulnerable and encouraged to be open with the people that you have around you. And it's very important that that foundation of vulnerability is built so that you can actually get to learn and understand the people that you are living in these halls with. It's important to know and like study people as well to learn how to like interact with the individuals here in the community. But there's also the thing of, and it's on that foundation, you now get to know, like everyone gets to know what they like, what they don't like, how best they work together, and what they like to enjoy and do. One of the things that we tend to find ourselves doing is that in the auditorium, because we have one major hall that everyone has to be in, the auditorium has become our classroom, our party room, our group workshops, our guest sessions. Everything happens in the auditorium. And sometimes, like, what will happen is that if the Friday is too hard and nobody goes out, I don't think there are people who haven't left, like, well, I'm sure like since the beginning of NUTM, they probably only left Landmark like 4 times. I'm not even exaggerating. Like you see Babajide. So like everything you need is already on Landmark. So you don't need to, you get to go to the beach if you want to. But then it's also very important to remember to live your life and reach out to the people outside of NUTM, because people will not understand. And that's another thing that I've come to realize that the NUTM experience like gives you, is that once you've formed this connection with 59 other people, let me just say that people outside, right, will never understand the experience you've had inside of here. By the time you sit down and you say, how might we? People will laugh, but then they won't understand that every single course that we've done is, oh, how might we make sure that this idea makes sense? How might we? Like, there's so much cultural norms that has been changed and shifted here that it will be so hard for you to break out of. Like, it would be so hard for you to like let go of the community you've yes, I just read, can't wait to have this wonderful experience. Now, let me not lie also, there are times where you won't have time for yourself. There are times where you will not have time there are times where you might not even submit assignments. There are times where like you will fail constantly. There are times where you feel low, there are times where you feel overwhelmed. But it's always important to remember that you have a community of people around you that are most likely feeling, like Purity said, feeling the same way you're feeling. And you cannot hold any of your failures or their failures against them. You just have to take it as is and take it as a learning experience. And then, sorry, Hemat, you had asked social life, and was it to
No, it was just social life. It was just social life, yeah.
Yeah, so it's at the end of the day. Also, another thing I have to be clear about is that once you come into the NUTM community or NUTM environment, you have to drop your entitlement outside. So when we came in with a little bit of entitlement because world class, everything should be provided for us. But then we saw the reality of the fact that NUTM is a startup, and they are supposed to be working with us to make sure that this is a reality. So it's important that what we would expect from Harvard, we should not expect from NUTM. And it's important to know that even the people who, not everything is perfect, but you have to learn how to make it work. I mean, Nigeria, one of our guest sessions came to us and he was like, what do you need right now in Nigeria to work for you to be successful? And to be honest with you, people are being successful in Nigeria already without Nigeria working. So it's kind of the same mentality you should carry, that you will be successful regardless of what your expectations are of the NUTM system. Like, once you come in here, so that you will not come in and say, oh, had I known, should I have known? No. It's for you to come in realistically without any expectations of the program, but more of expectations for yourself and how you want to be able to use all the courses to actually like help your life. Like, what do you want to take out of each of these courses? It is a personal relationship. It's a personal goal. Nobody's going to force you to read. They will try as much as possible to force you to come to class. But at the end of the day, you're human. You will be the one to make those decisions. You are the one to form the friendships. You're the one to take control of your life. You're the one to go out if you want to go out. But like, just once you get here, make sure you know where you are coming from and where you want to go back to. That's one of like social, yeah.
Thank you so much. I think two very important points you talked about, right? One is about co-creating the program or co-creating the scholarship itself, sorry, scholars program itself, right? So what we are saying is, we are not saying we're creating it on our own and this is the Harvard or so on, right? We're trying to give that experience in Nigeria, right? We're trying to give that experience in Lagos. So we're trying to build it. And what we need is also sort of, the realization that, we are co-building this. We are building a program that has never existed in, say, sort of, Nigeria or for that matter, in Africa, right? And, there are challenges, but we are taking challenges head on and moving on, right? So that's what we are trying to do here at Nigeria. Very important. The second point is also sort of, you talked about some challenges and some sort of, how do you prioritize a few things, right? There are so many things that you have to do and you need to do, but you can't do them all, right? So there's so you end up prioritizing few and leaving few, right? And then this sort of gives me a segue to ask next question to Marvellous. But before I ask this question to Marvellous, let me tell our audience that there are a lot of questions coming in about application and application process and interviews. We'll take them, once we are done with the program part of the questions, right? And we'll come back to that. So just hold on there. Just to say, my question to you is, what are some of the challenges that you came across while you were at NUTM Scholars Program, right? And then, Aaliyah talked about prioritizing few things, right? And there's so many things to do, and then it's very easy to get lost and get overwhelmed with so many things, right? But how do you sort of, prioritize and finally figure out, what is important for you and what you can let go of?
All right, thank you very much. And Aaliyah really touched on the social part. I'm the head of the social committee, so I think we tried a little bit semestered. So to the question, is the fact that my challenges I faced, to be very honest, doing 25 courses within 9 months is a lot, to be very real with you, to be very honest. I won't lie. Because there was a point, and this is me being real and vulnerable right now, there was a point I felt like a fish that was trying to climb a tree, to be honest, because I was learning a lot. 1 minute you are learning how to find product market fit. The next thing you're trying to do policy paper. So it's a whole lot. And then to touch about what Purity said, that was like, I think that was one of the biggest way out of it. And also in terms of the network also comes into, that's where the network part comes into play. You realize the fact that because you feel overwhelmed, doesn't mean you're the only one that is overwhelmed. Like I can remember a particular day, I don't know if I should mention a name, but a fellow scholar here, I was feeling very, very, and then the beautiful thing about the environment is the fact that land markers almost everything you need. One of the ways I was able to balance is I enrolled in a swimming class. So when I was finished, I just close my laptop and go and swim. And then when I come back, I will come back. But aside that was like my whole personal therapy, go swimming and come back. When you have conversations with fellow scholars, you realize the fact that the same way you feel overwhelmed is the same way they feel overwhelmed. And then, when you connect, then you understand, and you can easily, when you express yourself, anything allows you to, they make you very vulnerable. When you can call out your emotions, you're able to, approach them and know that, yes, I need to set priority and do these things. Another thing about it is the fact that the network is a wide network, multidisciplinary people. No matter how little, whatever you are interested in that makes you come to anything, you find that one person that is also interested in that thing. For me, I'm interested in building startups, scaling my Go Buy Books becoming a global company. That's my interest. I have like 3 to 4 people that whenever I want to talk about Go Buy Books, I can sit down and we'll have a conversation. Aaliyah is interested in the arts. She has Amanda among us that she speaks to constantly that has the same interest with her. Babajide is building Wadi and is interested in scholarship. There are a lot of scholars that want more scholarships. They interact. Purity, the same thing to trying to figure out recycling, how to make a business out of the recycling business in Africa. she has a team. She has Zan Cube, and they are working really hard together. So those are like the three things I would say that helped. Find a personal way for yourself. I go swimming and I call family and friends when I feel overwhelmed. The second thing I do is I try to speak to a fellow scholar that that match with you, and then just sleep, please. We don't sleep, but please try to sleep. So yeah, that's it for me.
Thanks. This is really interesting to hear such words from you. So my next question to you is is to Purity. So see, I mean, at NSP there are folks who have come right out of campus, right, without any experience, and they have just joined the program. And there are folks like Dr. Babajide, who has done PhD and then has quite a few years of work experience, right? And there's this whole talk about the diversity, getting people from different academic, cultural, and sort of professional background. So how has your experience been with this diversity, and and how does it come up, within the code? What is the energy like? What do you think are its advantages that you as a cohort get from such a diverse say colleagues to some extent? Yeah.
Okay, talking about diversity here in NUTM, I think it's a really extra spice that NUTM really they paid attention to, and I can see the benefits. Why do I say this? So my TED Lab team, Aaliyah is on my TED Lab team, and she studied business management. I studied medical laboratory sciences. Tobe studied engineering. Yunus studied finance. Sharon studied estate management. So you see everybody in one team trying to create something for the recycling industry. So it now brings your ideas to come together from different perspectives. I would see it from the point of health. I could see it from the point of someone that has been making footwear for a while, and then there's an issue with purchasing materials. We'll see it from different angles. So that diversity has actually done a lot. And then it also helps us to find a way to play on our strengths. Why do I say this? Like Babajide mentioned that before he came, he didn't really know how to use Canva to create slides, right? I also knew that I could use Canva to make designs I could use for social media management, but I wasn't sure that I didn't know. I would just clearly say that I didn't know it could be clearly used to create slides. But then you come here, you see people who their forte is to Momile will create slides in less than 5 minutes. Like I was like, Momile, you did a great job. You see that everybody has their different expertise. You see the people in the HR, they're telling you, no, this is not appropriate. You shouldn't do this. So it's even when we are in different groups, because for almost every course we take, we're always assigned to different groups to work on a project together, basically trying to help us learn and understand how to work as a team, right? So you would realize that while you're in that team, you might not really have an idea of what's going on, right? Like currently, we're taking an AI and ML course, and in my team, we have Peter Bosede, who is the ML, expert. Me, I'm just a budding data analyst. Womile is the Canva mama. Like a couple of us, and then you just see us asking Peter questions. Okay, so what's this about? So you understand that it's not your strong suit, right? But then you have an opportunity to learn from these people, and then you even have an opportunity to leverage on their strengths to make your project, push out better. There are some other courses that you would also be part of as a group member, and it will be clear that this is actually your own strong suit, and everybody says, okay, Purity, you seem to have a very good understanding of this. Can you really help us understand it and lead on the whole conversation and all that? So that diversity has had a lot to play in the project, participation in the classes, interaction, even like yourself, personal interactions. You now know that, okay, this person is good at this. When I have an issue with this thing, this is my go-to person, right? Here in NUTM and even post NUTM, you see people having conversations around, there's this my friend that has this particular startup and they're trying to, reach out this particular investor, and I have a friend in this. You see that connection happening. So that diversity has also had a way to help us even achieve our own personal goals, not just for the program or not just for participating in the program, but as well has helped us really even know our own strengths, because you may not even know you're very good at something until you come to a place and it seems like it's just you that really has a great understanding of it. So you now are more aware of yourself, you're aware of your strengths, your weaknesses, and other people's strengths and weaknesses. And yeah, that's really the benefit of having a diverse cohort, I would say. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Purity. So I have my colleague Comfort with me as well. So next section of Q&A would be more, gearing towards how do we prepare applications, what to expect in interviews, and things our audience have asked today. So Comfort, over to you to take us to this next section.
Okay, thank you so much, Iman, and thank you so much, scholars, because you guys are actually. So I'll be taking most of my questions from admissions, right? Although I still have one of the questions in the Q&A, which I would like to ask later, but let's dive in from the admissions question first of all. So I would like to ask Babajide. Yes, Babajide is the best bet to answer this question right now, because looking at the wide range of the profile of the scholars at NUTM, Aaliyah is a business person, Jesutoye is in, the anatomy. I don't know if I got that, but Babajide is into academia, right? So it's quite intimidating. And you begin to ask yourself as an applicant, how can I structure my application? What do I want to put in my essay, right? How do I write a compelling story to really catch the attention of the admissions team to consider me, right? So Babajide, what do you think?
Okay, so I'm going to be very blunt because there's no point trying to sound nice and then you try and you don't win. First of all, there is no scholarship that is meant for everyone. So not everyone is going to win it. The first thing you need to tell yourself is, let me go to the website of NUTM. I need to read through the curriculum. Oh, is this something that resonates with me? Do I need to take this training now? If you can't answer that question, then you are not the kind of person they are looking for. For you to win this, the first question you need to tell yourself is, do I need the training, the program that is being run? How does this suit into my life plans in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years? Because that's exactly what you're going to write in your essay. And you have to be convincing. And if you can't write that, you will not be selected. So for you to apply, first thing is, I've finished from school. Next thing, is this something I want to do? Do I want to commit to this for 1 year? I'm going to stay away from work. It is very demanding. So you need to tell yourself, just as I did, I told myself, I'm going to come here for 1 year, take study leave and come here and focus. So is this what you want to do? And if the answer is yes, you must be able to justify why. And that's exactly what you're going to put in your application for you to be selected. I don't know if I hit the right notes while explaining that.
Yes, Babajide. I think I like the fact that you mentioned doing a lot of research, reading like everything you just need to read on the webpage to be sure that this program resonates with me. I have the skill set that is needed and I'm ready to commit, because NUTM is really rigorous, right? Thank you for that. I will ask the same question from Aaliyah, but in another way. Right? Aaliyah, you said something the other time that I cannot be rejected. So what gave you that kind of confidence that you could not be rejected? And what do you think? There is one thing to have the criteria, all the recommendations, or to meet the major eligibility criteria, right? But another thing to know how to coin your story. Someone was even asking, what do you mean by writing a compelling story? So Aaliyah, how do you think that you would advise someone applying?
Okay. First off, I'm a Christian, and that is the reason why, like, I had that strong understanding that, because I had would I say that I had instructions in my head as to what to do next. So I'm not going to, if that's not you, that's okay, but I'm not going to lie and say, oh yes, this. No, it's that in the path of my life that I have seen forward, this was the next step necessary for me to actually embark on. And because of that, the opportunity was made like available for me. Now, for other things, there are other things that you will do as an individual that will prepare you up until that moment. For instance, I won't lie to you and say that, oh, I have the most robust CV or I have the most robust of experiences. That's not true. What I have though is that I am very well versed in across board in different industries. I have a very exposed mindset because I have managed to read and observe and interacted with people from different areas, from Ghana to Abuja to Lagos. But also is that there is a path for my life that requires me to build for Nigeria and Africa. The things that I want to do is for me to be able to impact my community, that everything I learn in NUTM right now, as much as I want to say, oh yes, Lagos, I want to stay in Lagos and grow and everything, I'm most likely going to go back to my home to build something that would allow me to spread the knowledge that I have gained here in NUTM to spread. So it's a lot more than just, oh, this is, it's a scholarship, I want to go and learn and everything. Is that in the mandate of my life, in the things that I have seen that I'm supposed to achieve and accomplish, I have tuned in to those instructions and said, okay, these are the things that I need to do to get me to the places that I need to go. Now, if I had been rejected by NUTM, fine, I would have probably found a different opportunity. But when it's time, right? And I think it's important that people just know that whatever it is that if it's in alignment with what you need for your life, it will come to you. If it's that thing that you know that, oh, this is the next step, it will come to you. If it doesn't, it's fine. You might also apply the year after that and the year after that. Who knows? It just might not be the opportunity for you. And it's absolutely okay. It's not something you beat yourself over. It's not something you cry over. It's absolutely okay. I'm sorry, Comfort, you had asked another question as well.
Okay, so it's about coining a compelling story. And I think that you already answered everything together. So what I could pick, basically, like the two key things is, number one, you need to know what you want to do next. And number two is the fact that you also need to be passionate about Nigeria, about Africa, and be sure of what exactly you want to do. So thank you so much, Aaliyah, for that. I'm going to ask Purity one question, and then I'll have the final one from Jesutoye. So Purity, to you now. How is it like at the interview? Because, you know, very soon that face will be here. So how is it like? Is it something to fidget about? What are the expectations? How do you prepare for your interview session? I think you're muted.
Hello?
Yes, good now.
Oh yeah, sure. I was trying to confirm what you said. You said, how do I do? I didn't get your question. I think it cracked at some point.
Oh, okay. I was asking about the interview session, right? You know, very soon it's going to be like time for interview test and all that. So how best can an applicant prepare for the interview?
Okay, so
expectations. What should you?
Okay, can I go ahead now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So for the interviews, first of all, I think what I did was I drafted my essays in line with what the program was about. Just like Babajide said, you need to identify what is it about the program that appeals to you and use that to tell your story. How does that thing about the program add up to your story? So that was what I did in my essay, right? And for the interview sessions, I always went back to read my essay to remind myself of those things that I actually said so that it's clearer. And then I remember having been asked by Dr. Okechukwu Lama, that why would I leave? Why would I want to be in NSP when I'm a medical laboratory scientist? Whether I want to leave the profession. I told him clearly that I wasn't abandoning the profession. But do I want to practice now? No, I wasn't ready to practice at the moment. That I want to still experience what it means to really understand those key modules that NUTM was offering and know how to apply it in my life going forward, because I already had a business I was building, right? And then I needed to understand how to apply those things to make my brand, be seen from a different light, understand it differently, as well as move on from there, even in the profession and in whatever sector I find myself. And he probably thought I was just trying to Google him, but that was the honest answer. So first of all, I tried as much as possible to be very honest. While being honest, I also made sure I said the things that NUTM wants to hear. And those are not lies, but they're things that are actually deep down in me, if you think about them. So what helped me to think about them was going back to NUTM's website to really understand what the program was completely about. Pick those sectors that applied to me, that really appealed to me. Like for me, the major thing was TED Lab, followed by Shadow a Leader, then Global Immersion Week. Do you understand? Every other part were just like the icing on the cake. So I used all those key areas to tell my story. I laid emphasis on that. And I mean, I was quite convincing, like I am right now, smiling, trying to be very honest, clear, and bold. I didn't reject, because I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I'm rejected. That's fine. We move, right? But then I also put in my best to see that I was taken. And even while I kept getting the, you move on to the stage email, I still struggled to really understand what these people saw in me, because even at the time, I almost sort of had a little lack of understanding of what it was that I really had to offer that NUTM was seeing. So they were seeing more than I could see. So it was just a thing of me also praying. Yes, please. I prayed a lot. I said, God, if it's a way that I should be in NUTM, just help me get there. And then even when NUTM came, I was like, God, are you sure this is the plan? This one night that I've given this thing, I'm beginning to. So it's also more of that as well, praying for clarity. Even when I came here, I didn't really understand why I was here. But over time, it's been getting clearer and clearer. And I'm hoping that before the end of the program, and by the end of the program, it would be clearer than it was from the beginning. I mean, it is already, but much more, clearer. So those are like the points I would want to add to that. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Spirit. I think that was very profound. Yes, we did answer the question. So I could pick saying research again and be sure that you understand what you put on in your application, because the questions will still be around your application and, ability to also align with the goals of NUTM. Thank you so much. And then you mentioned honesty. I think that is very key and spot on. Okay, so just to tell you, this will be like my own last question before I hand over back to Imat. NUTM application process is really rigorous. To be honest, at a point, if you are not really like strong, you want to say, I'm done, like I'm not doing again. So what made you really like, how did you scale through all of that process, right? And how were you able to like get to where you are right now? So I would like you to like answer that question.
Okay. I think thank you very much. I think this is the most the most interesting part of my story. And to put it out there, like anytime I think about NUTM, when I talk about NUTM, I would say I started learning from NUTM right from the application stage. Like NUTM has started teaching me right from the application stage. I learned a lot. Like a large part of my application was learning. And why I say that is because while I saw the information to apply, and then I signed up on the first page, I didn't know that there were like 4 other pages at the end of the application. There were like 4 pages for the application. I just filled in my details and I was expected to hear back. Then I saw the page of you need transcripts. So I called my my parents. I was like, oh, I need transcripts. They're like, no money yet. So I was like, okay. I had like 25K that I was saving, and then like just paid for transcript. I went to a private university, so transcript is expensive. Then like a week to the end of application, if my friend, and that's why it's good to have a very good network. Funny thing, good God, I sent the application to him too. Like that's why abundance mindset. That taught me abundance mindset. I sent the application to him also, and he writes here, it's very smart. And he called me because I was like, oh, Marvel, have you like done your introduction video? Have you written your essays? I'm like, no, there's nothing like that in the application. But like, go and check. I went to the application and I said I was meant to make introduction video. I was meant to write 3 essays a week to the end of the application. I'm like, wow. The 2 things that kept me going was I paid 25K for transcripts. It was no waste. And the second thing was I told myself, I was reading Rihanna Holiday's book, Obstacle is the Way. And I was telling myself, the reason why I should not apply is the reason why we apply. Like, because what that book taught me was, sorry, I'm a book person, was the fact that if there's no obstacle, everybody will have everything in the world. The obstacle is for them to be able to get the right people in the system. So if you know you're the right person, don't care about the obstacle, just go through the obstacle, because the obstacle is the way. Like, that was a big part of my application process. I was just like, anytime I felt like, no, Marvellous, can you do this? Are you sure you can do this? Because I really had to reflect on my story, express myself very well in a way that's convincing. The reason I kept telling myself was, the obstacle is the way. If there's no obstacle here, everybody will be there. It won't really matter. So because the obstacle is the way, then I must get in through the obstacle. So that was it for me. And then also I reached out to people. Because, for example, I reached out to Emmanuel Uzim, which was very, very helpful. So that's like a tip and advice. If you can reach out to someone in the program, they can guide you. I was also doing, some personal development program, try to do some little things to while you're at it too, because I was part of a career professional development program. I was part of VIM, Lagos Business School. So all those lessons that I picked from there were part of the things that, kind of helped me tell my story properly. And I was like, the obstacle is the way. And yeah, I got it. That was what got me through. The obstacle is the way. If you take anything from my answer here, if there's no obstacle, then it's not worth it. So why should you bother about the obstacle? Go through the obstacle.
Okay. Thanks, Marvellous. I think comfort. Yeah, just say that I can take it over from now. So scholars, folks, I think we have sort of passed our scheduled time. I'm not sure if you are available for, say, 5 or 10 more minutes. If you are, then we have a couple of other questions that we can take in and make it quick. But over to you. How does your time look like? Can you extend it for next 10 minutes? Okay. So I'm taking that. So there's a question regarding introductory video. So let me rephrase that. There are a couple of questions, but let me put it into what. What should the introductory video look like, and what should it talk about? I think, yeah, Aaliyah, you can probably go ahead, or anyone who sort of wants to. No proper order here, but basically, how should the introductory video look like?
I'll be brief. So it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't need to get an entire production team to actually help you make it. Now, the thing is, I lead the production committee. So I have a bit of production experience. However, I just used, I think I used my phone with a really small camera, and I didn't even edit it. I just really uploaded it and posted it. Now, if you want to send out, your introductory video should be brief. I think it shouldn't be up to more than 3 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, yes. But basically, 2 minutes now, okay.
Yes.
So, but basically, your video should tell them why you. Tell them, show them who you are, be articulate, be to the point. Don't give stories, don't over-explain, don't assume they don't know. Just get to the point. Don't lie, don't try and paint yourself to be more than what you are. Just tell them why you. What is that desire that is burning in you that you want to bring to life, that plagues you at night, that keeps you up in the mornings? Tell them that, and be honest and sincere with yourself. And then just trust that what you are saying is right. So I would suggest that you write a script, right? Write a script, give it to people around you to kind of read the script. People that know you especially, they read the script, and then you practice, do a bit 1, 2, 3 videos to see. If it doesn't work out for you, you change your script, keep modifying. But I would always say, just make sure that you are as open and honest with yourself and with them. And the thing is, an honest person will shine through. If you're honest about yourself, no matter how, if you're honest, if you're a bad person and you're honest that you're a bad person, it's better for you to be an honest bad person than a lying good person. So just be honest with yourself and it will shine through. Yeah.
I think that's bang on, right? So the one of the, what do you call it, caption that we had used for this session was, craft an authentic story and submit a compelling essay. And then, we got quite a few questions how to craft an authentic story, right? I think what Aaliyah said is bang on, right? So you need to be true. It's better to be a Yeah, can you please repeat that sentence? I'll frame it and keep it somewhere.
better to be an honest bad person than a lying good person. But also with an authentic story, right? Babajide can give you like different like approaches as to how to structure your storyline, right? But I would always recommend that you pick a story about a time that you solved a problem that could not have been solved by anybody else. It could have been such a small thing, but if you have positively impacted your community, your workplace, your boss, if you have done the craziest or non-crazy, if you're an adventurer, like also NUTM does not discriminate. Like you don't need to hide certain aspects of yourself. Anything that shows that you have the range of understanding. Like if you have range, if you are an adventurer, if you're an artist, if you are an engineer, if you're a mechanic, as long as you have that yearn and that desire to want to actually be more than what you currently are, I think that is fundamentally like one of the main criteria for actually becoming a scholar. Like just yearn for knowledge and yearn for like growth in the country. So that's kind of.
Yeah, thanks, Aaliyah. Thank you so much for putting it out so subtly and so sort of in a way so directly, right? So that people get it. Because otherwise it takes us sessions and sessions to make sort of applicants understand what we are looking for, right? And you have very nicely summarized it in your sort of eloquence. So my next question is to you, Purity. It's regarding clubs at NUTM. So, there are a few questions. Some of them ask, what are the extracurricular clubs? Are there any student clubs? And so please go ahead and ask, how does the group and clubs and things like that work at NUTM? So, and then Aaliyah already told, she's a part of a social media club, right? So, yeah.
Okay. Maybe just to tip off a bit, I don't know if it's going to help someone with their video. I particularly spoke about an experience I had previously that I didn't like, and I was hoping there was a way I could solve it. And then that was one thing I added to my video. Then back to the question I was asked, clubs. So first off, you're in Landmark where you have a lot of events happening. I could see an event happening right, through my window because my room is just opposite the event center. I see when the celebrities come and then I don't feel like going downstairs. Oosh. That's like one thing that comes with having to stay here because everywhere is comfortable. So being too comfortable, you now feel uncomfortable going outside, which is supposed to be the norm, right? So try as much as possible not to get caught up in that because by the time you leave Landmark, you now say, I had free access to beach, I did not use it, right? So, and then we have free access to the beach. So for during the weekdays, and then weekends, if you want to get to the beach, you have to pay because, that's a business that is running. So you don't expect them to give it free. But as scholars, NUTM scholars, we have access to the beach from Monday to Friday, with your key card or your ID card, you can get to the beach. And there are a lot of vendors on the beach. And I think I had tried to buy burger from one vendor on the beach, and then he said there were discounts for Landmark staff. So I don't know if, because I tried to tell him, I'm an NUTM scholar. So I don't know if he tried to, gauge me in that range, but I also got the discount and I got my burger. And yeah. And then the gym, there's a gym in the Landmark ecosystem where you can sign up and then you get to use the gym at a discounted rate, lesser than what you would normally pay if you were going to just walk into the gym. And then same thing goes with the pool. I started learning how to swim, which I stopped halfway. Then we have social committee. We have committees, various committees. Like I'm the head for guest committee. So some of these guest sessions self, like when the guests come, there are some that are so real. They will be very realistic. They see all this thing, all this life. It's really hard though, but man, we have to just move past it. So those guest sessions also have a way of helping you unwind and helping you really face reality and helping you understand some things that it's not everybody that really tell because they've not really gone through it. And then the social committee also, like during Valentine's Day, we had social committee plan the Valentine event. Yeah, the story is one of the heads of social committee where we came to, we sent in love letters to each other. So you didn't know who was sending the love letter. It was only the committee that knew who was sending the love letter. So you be hearing us with, she's so, keep being this, me, only me. Wow. So yeah, and then production committee also, before our shadow leader, like they had to plan, and then we spoke about what NUTM has done for us before NUTM, while in NUTM and what we hope to get after our Shadow Leader program. And I'm hoping that there'll be another video session where we'll speak about the experience from Shadow Leader. So there are a couple of other things. I mean, the administration, okay, Debo, who was here, but he's no longer here, he used to bring his game, his pads for the guys to play. And I played Mortal Kombat for the first time in my life here at NUTM. And now I can knock down anybody that comes in my way, you get. So there are a lot of fun things, you know, you can interact with people here in Landmark and all. I mean, Paul Owanibe came for one of our one of the sessions a scholar here organized, the Debate Africa, and then we got to interact with him. And he's like, you see him, you play football with him on the beach. Like the boys play football with him on the beach. So that aspect of being having a social environment, events happen here, but you might be overwhelmed with what you're doing, that you tend not to pay attention to those things. But if you can, try as much as possible. People even take road trips. They just drive and then come back, finish. You know, people hang out, go for Taco Tuesday. Just get involved, because everybody has different boundaries for social activities, right? If you're a very social person, find that person in your class that is the ginger person and be following up. If you're not, try as much as possible to attach to one person, because you need it here in NUTM. If not, yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
It looks like a real, I mean, you know, real fun and mixed with real vigor as well. So, you know, it makes me miss my sort of fellowship days and wants me to come back to your sort of, you know, cohort and be with you folks. So yeah, thank you so much for giving that experience. I hope, you know, our attendees are also sort of taking note of that. So my final question for the day is to Jesutoye, right? And again, this brings back to the interview question, but I think this is also really important to address. So the question for you is, you know, what are some of the things that you need to avoid in interviews? Now, I would like to extend that question and make it to, you know, what are some of the things that you need to avoid in application and interviews? So why don't you talk about that?
All right. In terms of, let me start with the application first. I think the first thing is don't lie, please. That's like, don't let me take Aaliyah's quote now again. It's better to be a bad honest person than be a fake authentic person. That's the first thing. Don't lie. Very, very important. And then as much as possible, please, you can run your essay through Grammarly, because I know, you know, we are not, all of us are not relation in Kanko. So try to, you know, reduce the grammatical errors in it. And then a good understanding, okay, I'm talking about not how, but what you should avoid. So don't lie, avoid grammatical errors, and make sure that your stories are they align, they are authentic, in the sense that you are not telling them that, oh, you're passionate about education at what matters most to you, and the next thing that what you've not done anything around education, that doesn't show passion. If you like, try to be, even if it's education you really want to go for, and you've not necessarily done anything in terms of education, it's really difficult. It's difficult to believe you, but try to show a way that you can pick learnings from the things you've done, or maybe an understanding of how the education space can be made better. Is it that you can show that you've been doing something in that line, because that's a sign that, okay, yeah, you're really passionate about it, or you are ready to bring learnings and some understandings that you have, you can put it into, you know, your essay, into what you're presenting going forward. So in terms of essay, don't lie, avoid grammatical errors, because humans are going to be reading your essay and nobody wants a lot of nonsense. The third part is make sure your stories align. Yeah, that's the word to use, align. Like when you read it yourself, you should like, okay, yes, is a process that the person is going through. Then in terms of video interview, I got a compliment during my interview from Dr. Arnold. It was like, oh, world background, please, you know, try to look for a world background like this. And also, if you can get a shirt as a guy, please get a shirt. Like, try to look as responsible as you can. And then, yeah, you're trying to create an impression, to be very honest, because interview is, you know, trying to, you know, they don't know you from, they only read your essay, and they need to then make your story. Don't tell another story from your essays. At the same time, alignment. Let your interview answers, let it align with your essay. And then please, at the same time, you've done your research, try to ask questions. Don't just stay back and try to let them know you think critically and you're a very intelligent person. Probe, because I think that's one thing NUTM is about. They're looking for critical thinkers too. They want you to probe into what is existing already. So don't stay back. Yeah, you're going to be talking with smart people, but so you have to show that you're smart. So let me try to see if I've touched all the points and see if I summarize it. In terms of interview, well-lit background, if you can dress decently, avoid noise, and then also make sure the same story, make sure it aligns with do your research. I read about all the board of directors at NUTM before the interview, do a pre-interview with friends, and then I believe you go through. So those are things I would say.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think I review a lot of applications, and on top of what Jesutoye is saying, let me add a couple of things, right? So another red flag for us is this jargon word, right? Jargon word, and then something that you haven't done, you have claimed. For example, we get many applications where people say, I'm a big proponent of SDG goal number 4. Okay, fine, you're a big proponent of SDG goal number 4. But then when we sort of further ask, right, what is SDG goal number 4? What are its objectives? What is its end goal? What are our sub goals? People are unaware of all those things, right? So on an essay, you're talking a lot about SDG goal this, SDG goal that, and then you try to show that you have done a lot of work, but you yourself are not clear about what SDG goal X is, or right? Then it just throws the reader or panelist or whoever the one is, right, away. So just whatever you write on your essays or on your application, you should know that in and out. Okay, for example, if you have done say certain course and you have said that I've organized an event at my school or whatever, right, campus, and I've generated XYZ sort of fund for the program, then you better know, what were the sources of fund and how did you collect it, right? I mean, you can't just write it and then forget it, and then interviewer can ask anything from whatever you have written, right? Because they need to know who you are, what claims are you making, are they true enough, right? So the idea here is you don't need to show hefty achievements, because this is not the age for hefty achievements, right? This is the age we are learning. This is the age, and you are coming to NUTM, not for a job or not for to lead a company, or not to sort of take Google from X billion to Y billion or whatever trillion, right? You are coming here to learn, and then you need to really show where you are and where you want to go. So just be clear with that. Don't make hefty promises, but all hollow promises, right? So avoid that. That's a big red flag. The other big red flag is there are certain sections in application, right, which are not compulsory, which are not mandatory. But what we expect, or the reason why it's there in the application, is it's a chance for you to sort of impress the admissions team, right? It's another chance where we haven't asked anything. You can free willingly say whatever you want to say, but make a good use of that. Those 100 words, right? Try to say something which you haven't said in your essays or your application, right? Just don't say that, again, I'm Hemant, and I did my engineering and I'm a good engineer, and I constructed bridge, and so I'm here. That's try to say something that when the reader reads on the other end, feels like, okay, this guy is or girl is a right fit. Third thing, basic English, grammar, sentence construct, typos, those errors, those are no, right? See, because the reason the selectivity rate for NUTM Scholars Program is, we get around, say, 1,200, 1,500 applications for 60 seats. So you calculate, it's what, 6%, slightly more than 6-7%. So that's the selectivity rate, right? So you need to be really careful with what you are submitting. You better, don't want to give anyone else your sheet, right? So just take time, read through what you have written, right, from top to bottom. If there's any error, or if you feel like, this is not sounding convincing, make someone else to reread it. And take feedback from someone who's not very close to you, right? Because if someone is close to you and if you go to them and ask for a feedback, then there might be biases that creep in, right? And they may say, okay, this is a great application. But try to find someone who's honest about, who can honestly tell, the quality you have written, right? So for some of those things, the other thing is, last year, many of the candidates, they lost the seat because they simply didn't check the email, right? So they got an email saying that, your interview is scheduled for X date. they're a great candidate, but you just simply miss it. So just maintain those hygiene factors, right? Keep regularly checking your emails. If you have any doubt, write to us. There's a sort of email address where you can send your queries. You can call us. So yeah, just maintain those hygiene factors. I think with this we have answered all questions. And I really want to thank our scholars for taking out time from their a busy schedule. Really sort of yeah, I can see Purity smiling, but I really thank you for taking your time, especially on a weekend. There's no weekend, but on a weekend, taking your time from everything else and giving it to this. I think the audience, the attendees today got benefited from your experience. I think your experience helped them understand what the life at NSP is, how to go about the application, what to expect, how to manage the expectation also, right? Not to over expect and not to under expect. And how can you sort of manage yourself once you are at NSP, right? So very, very thank you for you all. Thanks for everyone to, for attending this session and having that patience to listen to us, type your question. And I enjoyed a lot interacting with all of our scholars and responding to the questions. Thanks, Comfort. Comfort is an alumni from the founding cohort. Thanks for her, for making out time for this session. So with this, we close this session. Thank you, everyone.